Luke chapter 8 says, "So it was when Jesus returned that the multitude welcomed him, for they were all waiting for him. And behold, there came a man named Jairus, and he was ruler of the synagogue, and he fell down at Jesus' feet and begged him to come to his house. For he had an only daughter about 12 years of age, and she was dying. But as he went, the multitude thronged him. Now a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all her livelihood on the physicians, could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment. And immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus said, 'Who touched me?' When all they denied it, Peter and those with him said, 'Master, the multitude throng and press you, and you say, Who touched me?' But Jesus said, 'Somebody touched me, for I perceived power going out from me.' Now when the woman saw that she had not hidden, she came trembling and fell down before him. She declared to him in all the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, 'Daughter, be of good cheer, your faith hath made you well, go in peace.' While he was still speaking, someone came from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, 'Your daughter is dead, do not trouble the teacher.' But when Jesus heard it, he answered them, saying, 'Do not be afraid, only believe, she will be made well.' When he came to the house, he permitted no one to go in except Peter, James, and John, and the father and the mother of the girl. And all wept and mourned for her, but he said to them, 'Do not weep. She is not dead, but sleeping.' And they ridiculed him, knowing that she was dead. But he put them outside and took her by the hand and called, saying, 'Little girl, rise.' Then her spirit returned, and she arose immediately. And he commanded that she be given something to eat. And her parents were astonished, but he charged them to tell no one what had happened. Now, just like a lot of other things in the Bible, numbers are important. There were 12 tribes of Israel by the 12 sons of Jacob. Jesus chose 12 disciples. In the New Jerusalem, we find in Revelation, it says that there's going to be 12 gates and 12 foundations. On the Sabbath in the temple, there were 12 unleavened breads there every Sabbath. In the New Jerusalem, we're told about in Revelation, it tells us that there are going to be the tree of life that will bear 12 kinds of fruit. Moses sent out 12 spies to check about the promised land. Elijah built an altar of 12 stones when he went against the prophets of Baal. When Jesus fed the 5,000, there were 12 baskets that were taken up after everyone had eaten. Now we have the story that we're looking at today between the woman who had the blood issue and the girl that was 12 years old. Looking at the similarities between the two. One was 12 years old and dying. The other had a bleeding disorder for 12 long years. The 12-year-old, her father had influence. He was the ruler of the synagogue. The woman who was suffering for 12 long years, as far as we know, she had to pretty much take care of herself because she had spent all the money she had on physicians and was not healed. Doesn't say she spent her parents' money or her husband's money, it said her money. Jairus was wealthy. He was a ruler of synagogue. You know, the bleeding woman was penniless now because she had spent all that she had had. Another thing is important to notice that both of these women were nameless. We don't know what their name were. Both of their faith was evident, either by them or by someone else. The little girl, her faith was evident because of her father. Her father went to Jesus to get help for his dying daughter. It says he begged him to come to his house. Faith by the woman, she declared to him that in the presence of all the people, the reason she had touched him, now she was immediately healed. Both were healed by either touching Jesus or Jesus touching them. Look with me there in verse 44. It says, she came from behind and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. In verse 54 it says, but he put them all outside, took her by the hand, and called, saying, little girl, rise. Twelve is important. This 12-year-old girl is dying. "12 years ago, her family was celebrating the birth of this baby child. And at the same time, 12 years, a woman starts to bleed and bleeds for 12 long years. This little girl has a social standing because of what her daddy does. This woman who has a blood issue does not. She is outcast in her condition. I want you to think about that for a minute. 12 long years, no one could touch her. She couldn't touch anybody. 12 long years without a kiss. 12 long years without an embrace. 12 long years without feeling somebody's arms around you. 12 long years without feeling the lips on your cheek or on your lips. 12 long years she couldn't be touched. She was outcast. I don't care who you are. Can you imagine the emotional wreck that she was? I don't know about y'all, but I like being hugged. One of the things that stands out, not only the things that they have in comparison, but there's a couple of things that stand out that they don't have in comparison. Look with me there, the woman with the blood issue. Look with me there in verse 43. It says, now a woman having a flow of blood for 12 years, who had spent all her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any, came from behind and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. And Jesus said, who touched me? When they all denied it, Peter and those who were with him said, Master, the multitude throng and pressed you, and you say, who touched me? But Jesus said, somebody touched me, for I perceive power going out from me. Now get this, look at verse 47. Now when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling. And falling down before him, she declared to him in the presence of all those people who reasoned she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said to her, daughter, long years, she's not had any contact with people. She's had to stay away. A lot of times when people don't want to be around you, they don't talk to you either. They shun you. They see you, they go the other way. Can you imagine what it'd be like for the first time in 12 years, you would hear somebody with your passion calling you daughter? Daughter, be of good cheer, your faith has made you well, go in peace. Now I want you to know the difference here. Jesus is ultimately calling her out in the front of all of these people. This throng of people that is crowded in to touch or to be around Jesus, and all of a sudden she has to come out and announce, hey, I'm the one who touched him. Why did Jesus do that? He did that so she could actually go back home. You got all these witnesses that she just declared, hey, I'm healed. I'm okay. I can be touched and I can touch. I can be hugged and I can hug. I can be kissed and I can kiss. I can be around the people I love and once again, he had to call her out in public. You see, if it was leprosy, a person would have to go to the priest, and the priest would have to do this. It would have to begin to watch this person and see if that leprosy is going away, or if it went away. The priest would have to do that. But we don't have any kind of ritual for this woman with the blood disease. So she had to be called out in public so that in front of all these people, she could pronounce this miracle that just happened. Now, it's not like these people didn't know her. You got a woman that's supposed to be unclean, a woman that's outcast. I guarantee everybody in the neighborhood knows her. Can you imagine what it was like when all of those people went home and they sat at their dinner tables and they said, man, what a day. We just seen a woman who was unclean for 12 years just came clean. Can you imagine the testifying that would happen because of this? Now, it's a different story with a little girl. Look with me there, verse 54. But he put them all outside. He took her by the hand and called, saying, little girl, arise. Then her spirit returned, and she arose immediately. He commanded that she was given something to eat, and her parents were astonished. But he charged them to tell no one what has happened. Why did he tell the parents that? Well, here's the reason. Look at verse 51. When he came into the house, he permitted no one to go except Peter, James, and John, and father and the mother of Jesus. Now all wept and mourning for her. These are the people that are there at the house. But he said, do not weep, for she is not dead, but sleeping. And they ridiculed him, some knowing that she was dead. The crowd that is weeping and mourning, and they've just heard Jesus say that she's just sleeping, begins to mock him. They're not ready for the truth. They're not ready to hear what is fixing to happen. So he puts them outside. He makes them go away. He doesn't let them experience what's fixing to happen in that room. They don't get the experience that he reaches out and touches her hand and it says, arise, and she comes back to life. They don't get to see that. They just cheated themselves out of seeing or being witness to a miracle. That's what happens when you begin to doubt God. You get cheated out of seeing miracles happen. Just like these two stories are intertwined, these stories are intertwined with our life too. Because there's not one of us that's in here that doesn't need, either we need it right now or we needed it or we're gonna need it. Healing. It may be physical healing that we need. It may be spiritual healing that we need. It may be emotional healing that we need. It may be financial healing that we need. It may be relationships healing that we need. There may be times when we feel abandoned and outcast by our friends and family and even our community. But this story is here to tell us that when we feel outcast, when we feel sick, when we feel discouraged, when we feel depressed, when we feel hurt, when we have heartaches, when we're struggling. This story is a reminder to go to the one who can actually help us. The one who can actually bring healing in our life. The one that can change our life and our circumstances if we'll just believe him and trust him. This is a reminder that there is one who cares for us and loves us and yes, knows what you're going through and yes, has an answer. Just trust him. Just lean on him. A woman just reached out and just touched the hem of his garment. She didn't really even actually touch Jesus, just the hem of the garment that he was wearing. What could Jesus do for you? He could change your life. He could change your circumstances. Even if he doesn't change your circumstances, he can change you. He can give you strength to get through the hard times, the difficult times, the times of struggling. But you got to reach out to him. You got to reach out to him. You may not be going through something. You may be doing okay. You got family members or not. You know, this daughter, her dad went on her behalf. He went all the way to see Jesus. What are you willing to do for your loved ones? Willing to get on your knees and pray for them? Petition for them? Ask God to help them in their time of need. Be faithful in doing that. What's God laying in your heart to do? The question is, will you do it? Let's all stand. We have a song of invitation, page 305.